And welcome back. So we got a quick one-shot what if to do today, and then I got my who would win, and then me and Mark are going to go record the Q&A later in about an hour and a half or so. So keep your eyes out for that. I don't know if I'm going to be set a reminder or something, but keep your eyes out for that. Anyway, this what if comes to us from Mason Long, who asked the question, and this is a one-shot. It's not going to take very long. What if Alex Mercer from Prototype was in the MCU? Now, obviously, Alex Mercer from this game is quite powerful. He has basically, I believe it's called the Blacklight virus, which has pretty much made his entire body a kind of organic weapon. He can absorb biomass of living beings. He can morph his body into different forms. He's extremely powerful and tough. He's got higher general capabilities. So in his games, he's more of an anti-hero because he's killing a lot of people. In the MCU, you don't have a lot of heroes that legitimately go out of their way to kill or, absorb individuals. So right off the bat, we have to pinpoint where does he show up in the MCU. If you want my actual honest opinion on that, I actually think he'd show up in the MCU era after Endgame. I think that's where he's most likely to show up. But for the sake of, just because it seems like they're trying new things, he'd be a very good new type of character to try in a post-Endgame era MCU, because they're adding Blade in there. Moon Knight's going to be on Disney Plus, so those are some pretty violent characters and dark characters. So Alex Mercer would probably fit very well into that group. But assuming we're talking about pre-Endgame or leading up to Endgame MCU, where does Alex Mercer fit in? Well, take out his own solo movie, whatever that would be. Obviously, it'd be Prototype, but whatever that would be. What would be? I have a feeling he'd be a character that'd probably be introduced in his own way and somehow. Now we know because he's scientifically experimented on, you could have an easier time shoehorning him into one of the other MCU movies that deal more with scientific things, like the Iron Man movies, the Ant-Man movies. So something, maybe even like a Black Panther, possibly. So you'd have an easier time doing that. Should note, though, that as a character within the power scaling of the MCU, he would be very powerful. I'd say the only ones who could really threaten him or beat him legitimately would probably be the Hulk. Now you'd say he could just absorb the Hulk's biomass. Well, yes, but the Hulk gets stronger the angrier he gets. If Alex starts stealing his biomass, he's going to get pissed off, regenerate that biomass. Plus, the Hulk is radioactive. He's got gamma radiation all throughout his body. There's only, I think, so much of that Alex can handle. So I think the Hulk could legitimately beat him. Thor's definitely a candidate for someone who could legitimately straight out beat him in a fight. I'd say Iron Man stands a good chance as long as he has a decent suit. He could probably even design a suit specifically to take on Alex. After that, though, the rest of it, and Vision and Wanda would be two other individuals who could easily take on Alex just because of the nature of what they are or what they have to work with. Wanda with her telekinetic and psychic abilities, and Vision being technically a hybrid of an organic versus inorganic being, plus with the Mind Stone. So there would be, and that's not even including someone like Wakanda with their technology, or the Guardians of the Galaxy. So Alex Mercer would certainly be a fearsome foe in the MCU, but he would no way be the top dog in the MCU. But that being said, I imagine he could easily be segued into maybe the end of Civil War. Actually, he could probably segue him in better into Age of Ultron after they raid the Hydra base. And an actual legitimate post-credit scene, as opposed to that I'll do it myself from Thanos, you could have, say, the base that Strucker built. And in the sub-lab itself, where the staff was being kept, you had, the staff and all the Chitauri stuff. But in some sort of place, a chamber that they couldn't get to or didn't notice, Alex has been just sitting in a pod, and he just busts out, now that all the safety protocols are gone and everything. So I could see that happening. That leads into his own movie with Prototype. That's what it'd be called, because that's what the game series is called. So that question is, after Prototype, where does he show up in the MCU after that? Now, I think he could actually be a very good fit for joining the Guardians of the Galaxy if he ever went to space. I think that, because his powers definitely lend himself to fighting more cosmic beings or, super powered individuals of some kind. As opposed to just fighting Captain America Civil War, I'm fighting Hydra agents and stuff like that. No, he'd tear those guys apart in an instant. So his powers definitely lend themselves more towards heavier hitters of the MCU. But in terms of like what would be the next, because I'd have to imagine, because all the MCU characters have crossed over into other people's movies, he'd cross over into at least one of the movies. Um, so let's say you could easily make the argument that at the end of the prototype movie, Nick Fury and the Shield actually, or what's left of Shield, the new Shield, because about Age of Ultron, that's kind of what's going on there. Kind of meet up with them, and it says like we'd like to, Mr. Mercer. No, we're not here to fight. It's like, what do you want? We're here to just have a conversation, and then leads into him being segued into another one. Now, where exactly does that take place? Well, first up, where does the prototype movie take place within the MCU? I'm gonna say probably after Civil War. And sorry, that damn sun, and just wait, watch. I'm gonna make it dark. Let's see if I can make it dark again. Uh, one second. Nope. No, I guess I can't make it dark right now. I got the Iron Fist though. Uh, anyway, I digress. So it would take place. Let's say it takes place immediately after Civil War. The ones after that were Doctor Strange. I don't see him being a candidate to show up in Doctor Strange. Then it was, if I'm not mistaken, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I remember that. Just because he's not in space, can't be a candidate for that movie. Spider-Man: Far From Home is unlikely. I don't think that would work. Then you had Thor: Ragnarok. Thor: Ragnarok's an interesting one. Part of that does take place on Earth, so you could make the argument. But they already put Doctor Strange in there, so I don't think I could add him in there as well. With Black Panther's an interesting one because not only is it not just solely based on Wakanda, they do travel. I think you could splice an Alex Mercer prototype character in the movie. I think that could work. He could play as a secondary antagonist or someone that they send in that Shield through some Wakandan aid or whatever through consistent communication with Wakanda or say T'Challa is able to throw down Alex Mercer onto the battlefield to help out. And that help out the army and stuff like that. They have a good moment, and then they get out of there. So which leads into Endgame. Now Endgame and Infinity War are probably going to be the two big ones and I think Mercer does get dusted at the end of Endgame regardless. Where does Mercer basically show up within Infinity War? Is he in New York? Does he hang around in Wakanda? Does he oh god, where was the other group? No, it was mostly just Wakanda, New York, and then everyone in New York pretty much went to Titan. The question is, which one of those is he most likely to show up in? I think he shows up probably at Avengers base, sent by Fury. I think that's what happens. And then they go to Wakanda, and then the fight happens. Now, because it's a different scenario, he can go out and even absorb biomass and things along those lines to really give him an aid in battle against get some space dogs against the space dogs. The Outriders, I believe, is what they're called. So, he'd be able to really hold his own on the battlefield, but even he can be overwhelmed. And I think just sheer numbers alone would not do him well. But ultimately, Thor comes in, things work out. Thanos comes in. Thanos, because at that point he had 5 Infinity Stones out of 6. Really, the only thing he was missing was the Mind Stone. So he would have no problem bitch slapping Alex Mercer around. Then he gets dusted at the end of Infinity War, going to Endgame. He comes back and he's wreaking havoc on the battlefield again, trying to stop Thanos into the group. It's too big an army for him to eventually get to Thanos. I think there's just too many of them. But at the same time, he does play a very pivotal role, I think, or at least he's one of the frontline fighters, definitely. So basically, I have to ask the question: where does he end up after that? Well, I mean, not anywhere significant. At the moment, he'd be just sitting around for his next movie. So basically, what if Alex Mercer was in the MCU? It wouldn't be anything drastic. He would definitely be playing parts in some of the other movies where he's clearly or is clearly a physical powerhouse on the field, but ultimately he doesn't change anything about the MCU, I don't think. Because as powerful as he is, there's still more powerful characters in the MCU than him. So he's not going to change the actual history of the MCU. But what do you think? Do you think you think it is something you think it changes the MCU drastically or not that much? Let me know in the comments below. But that's the end of this What If. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. We'll do a review of it at some point. Ideas for who would win, Star Wars, superhero, magic, what if, anything to do on the channel. Put that in the comments below. Let me know. I'll get to that at some point. I'll be back in a little bit with who would win. Keep your eyes out for the Q&A later tonight, and I'll see you later.